Hello and welcome to my channel. I'm Mr. Tie-Dye, and today we're going to do some tie-dye socks. I've been getting lots of requests on just people asking how I tie-dye socks, and I have a few different methods that I tie them up, and then sometimes I will tie them up the same way and dye them in different ways. So I'm going to tie some socks up and just kind of show you what I do. So I guess let's start out with one of the more difficult ones. I mean, it's not really that difficult, it just takes some practice. But I use a rubber band, and what I'm going to do is kind of zigzag down the sock here with my rubber band and tie this off. So I don't normally draw lines on here, but I'm going to draw them on so you can kind of see where I'm placing my rubber bands at. And I might not use these exact lines as I go down here, but that's basically what I'm doing, is I'm going to kind of gather that fabric up there. And the first one is usually the most difficult to get. So that one you can kind of pleat it up yourself, and then I take the rubber band and wrap it around. And then I just kind of, I twisted it right here a couple times. And then I'm just working the sock through the hole here, so that I can bring the rubber band down now and put it on the line, the next line here. So let me twist that. So I twist that, and then I bring it back through so that I can line up the rubber band on that last fold there. So let me zoom in and show you a little bit more of what I'm doing there. If I could find how to line that up. So I'm going to twist this one more time here. I usually will use 2 or 3 rubber bands, just depending on how tightly I twist that. So I just lay the rubber band right across there, kind of bunch that up, twist that, and then run that through the hole of the rubber band and line that up next here. So I just kind of help pleat that down with my hands as I'm going. And then what I'll do is I'll start with the next rubber band, and I go ahead and start right where I left off at, and I'll kind of get that pleated just a little bit. Okay, so I started right here at that same spot, pleat that up just a little bit so it gathers up, and then I twist the rubber band here, and then I run, I guess I need to zoom back out. I run the top part of the sock through so I can bring this down now, and I'm lining it up on my next line here. Like I say, I just usually will kind of do little pleats here in my hand just to tighten that up, stretch the rubber band out, and then I twist it, and then since I'm about halfway through, I can just grab the bottom of the sock and run that through there. And then it's just a matter of kind of straightening your rubber band out, finding your next line here, and I just kind of pleat that up once again just in my hand, just to gather that. And then I tighten the rubber band, twist it, and I bring the sock through there again. So this one just takes some practice, but if you work at it, you can get that one. And you can go along and straighten your rubber bands out, make sure you got your pieces. I didn't do these completely even, but you could space that out where they're nice and even there. And then one more rubber band. We'll finish this off. So once again, I'm starting here where I left off. I lay my rubber band on there. I straighten the sock out a little bit. And once again, we're doing both socks at the same time here, just so that you can get them as close to the same as a matching pair. And then I pleat that up, stretch the rubber band, twist it, run the sock through the hole. And then I pleat up that last bit there. Twist that again. And up through the hole. And this time I'm going to twist that and run it back over itself just so that it's tight enough. So I just laid the rubber band in the same spot as the first rubber band here. And there's a sock. And now this one here, the pieces touch right here in between all of these, so it's hard to dye them, but I have done, you know, different colors all the way down. Sometimes I'll dye the same color on this side, same color on that side. And I've also taken and put one color down over top of the rubber bands and then dyed each side a different color. So there's lots of different ways, but we'll get to dyeing these after I get more socks tied up. So there's one method. Oh, and these are bamboo socks from Dharma. And I soaked them in soda ash. I spun them out so that they're just barely damp. And like I say, then I just start folding them up. So another way that I fold them up, this time here, I'm going to fold them individually. And what I'll do is grab the top and the bottom of the sock here. Let's see, I need to zoom all the way out. Okay. So I grab the top and the bottom and kind of stretch it out. And I just kind of twist the sock up until it just looks like it has a nice twist in it. And then from the toe, so I make sure I hold on to this top part here. From the toe then, or at the top, you can twist from either side. Then I just start wrapping that all the way up on itself. And then I do the other one the same way. And usually if I kind of bounce it around like that, that helps make sure that all my twists are nice and even in there. When I think I get it to about the same size, then I start wrapping that up. And I just try to hold it down right here and just feed more into that, while at the same time I'm holding this part of the sock so it doesn't untwist on me. Okay. So then, like I say, that pair is dyed or tied up, and when I dye these, then I try to make sure, if I want them the same, then I try to make sure that I line this up where I have my rubber band. This here is the top of the sock on each of them, so I would lay these side by side, and I would put yellow in the same spot, green in the same spot, blue, and just work my way around if I'm dyeing them in rainbow colors. Okay. Oh, and I usually do my soaking with them still attached, because sometimes the socks aren't exactly the same length. Just every now and then I've had that, and rather than trying to match them up, I just keep the two pair together when I do the soaking of them. So this one here, I'm going to do a similar type twist, but I'm not going to twist the sock up. I'm not going to twist it up first. I'm just going to grab the sock here and just twist it. And for that one, you just need to kind of work with these pleats here. As the pleats start forming, you just need to kind of work them in so they all lay nice and flat in there. So I just keep twisting this up. So there's just different ways of getting different patterns on your socks. And there's so many different ways of folding them. I just kind of play around with a few different methods and find patterns that I like, and then I just do those ones. And then I make sure that I start at the same spot. So I usually will lay the two socks down so that I know both of them were twisted from the same point on the sock, which this here is the front of the top. Okay, another way that I'll do these is accordion fold. So, and I usually do, I don't know, maybe about an inch high pleats on there. Okay, so I tied up socks in 4 different methods here, and a couple of them I tied 2 pair of socks up. So what I'm going to do is dye each one of these up, and then this style here I have 2 different methods I can dye them in. So we're just going to go through one by one and dye them up. Okay, I'm going to start with the zigzag pair first, and I'm just going to dye it in 2 colors. I'm going to use fuchsia and turquoise, and then of course where they touch here in the middle we'll have some purple going down there. So I'm just going to go along and dye these. The one thing is the socks being thicker fabric, sometimes you need to kind of open these creases up and make sure you get a little bit of dye down inside there, or check to see if you have white spots, but usually you need to open that up, and so I'll usually just go ahead and do that from the start, open that up, and you can usually kind of push on that to get the dye to soak in. Okay, that pair looks good, so I'm going to let this batch for 48 hours, and then I'll have the results for you at the end. Alright, time to get these socks opened up. Alright, so what this design does is it puts diamond shapes on your socks there. So this here is going down the front of the leg, these blue diamonds, and then of course on the back side we have the fuchsia diamond shapes. So, alright, we'll get to the next pair. Okay, we're going to go for the next pair here. We're going to do rainbow colors. So what I'm using is fuchsia, deep orange, lemon yellow, my bright green that I mix myself. What I do is I fill the bottle 3/4 of the way with lemon dye, the lemon yellow dye, and then I top it off with 1/4 of turquoise, and that makes a bright green. And if you add more yellow to it, then it's going to be more of a limey, brighty green. You add more turquoise to it, and it's going to be a darker green. So you can kind of adjust your bright green. And I have turquoise, and I have plum. So we're going to do some rainbow socks. And like I say, I'm going to pay attention to where the top is. So you can pick what color you want up there at the top by making sure you lay your colors on. So I'm going to put fuchsia, and then I'm going to go with purple next there. Okay, and since I want purple as the next spot, I'm going to skip one space and do turquoise in this spot, and that leaves that spot for purple. Okay, that's those socks. I'm going to soak up some of the excess dye on these. So what I usually will do is lay a rag down and just set both socks on there. And then I just give just a little bit of a pressure, and that just helps push some of the dye through, but then it also helps soak the excess dye up so that it's not spreading around there after the fact while it's batching. So I'll batch these and have the results at the end. Alright, here we go. That just puts some nice rainbow stripes on these socks. Alright, next pair. Okay, these were the pair that I had just laid out flat, and I did the twisting and gathered up the pleats on there. So we'll get these dyed up. I'm going to use green and plum, or emerald green and plum for these. And like I say, I'm taking note of where the tail is on both of these so that I can get the dye placed pretty close to the same on both socks. So this here is the tail here, and this here is the toe, not the tail. So I left that for green, so we'll put the purple right next to it. Okay, there's the green and purple socks. Alright, there we go with some green and purple stripes. Okay, here's another pair of the flat spiraled ones where I laid them out flat and I twisted up from the toe. So this one here I'm going to do in rainbow colors, and then I'm going to put some black over top just to give a little bit of black lines in there. So let's see, the last ones I dyed, I put the fuchsia up at the top, so we're going to swap these around, put those at the bottom, and let's see, we'll start with the space across from the toe. So here, I mean the top of the sock is right here, so I'm going to start with this space here for both of the fuchsias. And that's if you want your socks to match. You can certainly dye them in a fashion where they don't match. You could do one this way and twist the other one around so that your colors run up and down your socks differently. And this here was bright green, lemon yellow, deep orange, fuchsia, turquoise, and then this here is the plum, but I've lightened it down so it's kind of a light purple instead of the dark purple of the plum. And I'm setting this on a rag just so that it absorbs some of the excess dyes, because after I get done with the rest of the rainbow color, like I say, I'm going to put some black over top. I'll probably just paint it on with a foam brush, but I want some of this excess dye to be gone so that the black doesn't run around too much. And I usually will pour dye out onto the table rather than pour it into a cup, because I don't want to have any dye left over, because I am taking my brush from the dye and I'm rubbing it on the socks, which has soda ash on it. So I don't want to keep dipping this back into a jar and then pour that jar back into the cup. So I pour out just enough dye on the table for me to use, and anything that's left on the table just gets wiped up, not reused. Because a little bit of soda ash introduced into your dye will cause your dyes to die or expire you'll lose the vibrancy of your colors over time if you have soda ash in the dye. And I'm using a foam brush so that I can apply just a little bit of dye at a time. If I squirt this on, I might saturate it too heavily and lose some of my color, or just cover up more of the color in there. This way I should have some nice thin lines and a lot of bright rainbow colors in there. Okay, so that was soaked up. I can feel the rag is nice and wet, so that soaked up some of that excess color. Okay, those are ready to batch. And last pair here. So that gave us some nice rainbow stripes, and then the black over top gave us some nice black lines in there. When these are all washed and dry, I'm sure that'll give that some nice pop in there. So I'll get these washed up. Okay, these are the ones that I accordion folded, and I'm going to dye them in fire colors. So I have fire red, lemon yellow, and deep orange that I'm using. Okay, I'm going to do these DNA style, so I'm going to slide one of my bottles over just so that I can shift my colors over. So now I'm going to put yellow where the red was here. And then you can use a cuticle pusher or something to open these up and just kind of see what the color looks like down inside. It looks like I have pretty good color saturation. So I'm just going to call that good on those. And now I'm going to do the same thing I did on the other pair. I'm going to add some black over top of these fire colors. So I'm just going to squirt some dye out on the table and coat these up. Okay, those will be done in 48 hours, but you'll see them in about 2 seconds. Thank you. Yeah, some nice fire colors going on in there. Alrighty, time for the next one. Okay, in this last pair of accordion folded socks, I'm going to dye in 2 shades of blue. So I got a light, very diluted turquoise that I'm going to use to start with, and then I'm going to lightly coat it with some sapphire blue here. So we're just going to go for it. Okay, and this one I'm going to squirt on because I do want the dye to kind of soak in and just create a little bit of patterning on this. I'm not going strictly for just lines. I mean, granted, I'm going to get lines, but I want some extra patterning, so that's why I'm squirting this rather than brushing it on. Okay, that's the last of the socks, so we'll get these batched and washed up, and then I'll have all of the results at the end. Thank you for watching. Alright, yep, so that gives me just a little bit of texture in there, just with the dye squirting in, because this one I, of course, squirted the dye on rather than painted on.